Chapter 3 The Prodigal Son. Vanguard, HQ Camp, Polis. Lieutenant Ortega stood there at attention, waiting for the Major and the Captain's shuttle to land. Its repulsors were kicking up soil and stirring the snow around it as it descended. As it touched the ground and the ramp door started to crawl open, Ortega snapped a salute to greet the Captain and the Major. Major Wright stopped to return the salute, but Captain Ruiz kept walking, rifle at the ready.
"Are the mechanized infantry ready to attack, Lieutenant Ortega?"
Ruiz asked the lieutenant, his voice all business. "They are," responded Ortega, "as are the other divisions. The 501st and the 151st have been sent up in place, and the sleds and tanks are ready to depart." He gave this information to Captain Ruiz as he speed walked to keep pace with him.
"Good," said the captain. "Prepare the men to depart. I'm riding with you."
"Sir?" asked Lieutenant Ortega, with a bit of confusion. "Are you sure? Shouldn't you stay here at HQ and make sure other tactics are running smoothly?"
"Probably,"
stated Ruiz plainly.
"But the savages decided to invade my home, and they're gonna pay for it. KTF.
He primed his uranium-depleted rifle as he said the last part before entering a sled. Lieutenant Ortega, after initial shock, opened up Elcom on his bucket. "Load up, boys," he said to his division. "We're leaving. KTF out there. Vanguard Assault Force Alpha en route to Savage Nest." Lieutenant Stewart and the jet troopers were riding on the tanks, while Assault Force Alpha was making its way to the nearby Savage Nest. The savages had been surprisingly quiet on most of the planet after the initial attack. Maybe this pack of savages was not as powerful as other packs. This battle seemed like it was going to be a simple cleanup mission. Lieutenant Ortega, from the screen inside of his command sled, could see they were coming up on the Savage Nest. They didn't have any patrols guarding the outside. This was starting to get a bit suspicious. First, the little to no resistance they faced when landing on Polis and setting up camp. There were no raids on the camp, even though that's where one of their patrols got knocked out. And now the gates to their hive were wide open. Something wasn't right. Suddenly, there was a rumble in the ground below their sleds. Captain Ruiz called over the officer's Elcom.
"Lieutenant Kayleen, what was that?"
He heard the response from Kayleen back at HQ. "Not sure. Picking up some massive tremors from the sled sensor and seeing some large dust clouds moving quickly towards you. I advise you to prepare for combat."
"Copy,"
said Captain Ruiz. Then he opened up the company-wide Elcom and started to speak.
"Attention Vanguard Company. This is Captain Ruiz. We are experiencing large tremors and picking up something coming at us from the side. Prepare to engage."
The tanks and the sleds stopped. The infantry prepared to depart at a moment's notice, and the jet troopers prepared to ignite their jump packs if necessary. The whole assault force was still. The only thing that could be heard were the engines of the vehicles and the rumble of the ground. Then out of the ground came giant centipede-like machines, one from the east and the one from the west, and from the holes they bore into the ground poured savage warriors, firing their slug throwers as they exited the freshly made tunnels. One of the abominations came up right underneath one of the MBTs, swallowing it up. Most of the jet troopers that were riding on the tank jumped away to safety, but one man wasn't so lucky. He was eaten with the MBT.
"Tanks in the rear!"
shouted Captain Ruiz over Elcom. "Fire at those things!"
"Provide covering fire for the other vehicles to fall behind. Jet troopers, get airborne and try to distract the savages while the infantry can disembark."
At once, the rear tanks started firing. The other vehicles started moving back. Legionnaires disembarked. Once they got far enough away from the mechanical monstrosities, and jet troopers zoomed from high ground to high ground, firing at the savage warriors below. The tanks were firing at the mechanical centipede creatures, but weren't enough to punch through their thick armor. Lieutenant Rand could see that this wasn't going to work. He got the comms operator in his command tank. "Tell Lieutenant Dole and the artillery division to get fire at those things." The comms operator immediately went to work on getting Dole on the comms. Then came the familiar voice.
Lieutenant Dahl, we need the artillery fire over here. There's some savage machines we can't punch through.
Copy, came Lieutenant Dahl's reply. Give us the coordinates so we can start the bombardment. Get me the rangefinder, Lieutenant Rand told his comms operator, who immediately got to work on getting them up. Their sled has just gotten to the back line. They're on line 2, responded the comm operator. Yes, this is Rangefinder Team 1, came a reply on the channel. This is Lieutenant Rand. Artillery needs the coordinates of those monsters. Copy. The coordinates are KB 96784583 Alt 130. Lieutenant Rand relayed the coordinates to Lieutenant Dahl, who gave a quick response. Copy. Adjusting the 151st now. If you got men in that area, I suggest getting them out. Lieutenant Ortega, Lieutenant Stewart, began Lieutenant Rand, hailing them over the LCOM. I would get you boys far away from the big machines. We got artillery fire coming in. Both of them confirmed and began to move their troops back, but Lieutenant Ortega had issues. There's a problem. Captain Ruiz is engaged with the savage warriors around the machines in melee combat, said Lieutenant Ortega. Both Lieutenant Stewart and Lieutenant Rand said in unison, You don't mean? Yep, said Lieutenant Ortega with almost a chuckle. He's using his sword. I thought that thing was just for sure, said Lieutenant Rand, sounding very surprised. Nope, I now have visual on the captain, said Lieutenant Stewart. He actually knows how to use that thing. Captain Ruiz was slaying savage after savage with his Polisian sword, the sword of his people. There was a parable back from the time of Earth that Captain Ruiz vaguely remembered from an archaic religion that his religion was based off, about how a son left home, breaking his father's heart. This prodigal son eventually returned home, and his family threw a party in celebration of his return. While this return home for Captain Ruiz may not have been happy, this certainly was a party. Suddenly, Lieutenant Stewart and a couple of jet troopers landed around him. Sir, we have artillery fire coming in shortly. We gotta get away from the enemy machines. Well then, said Captain Ruiz, as he slew one last savage, we should probably get out of here. As he put the silver sword, now covered in black savage blood, back in its scabbard on his back, and pulled out his uranium-depleted rifle. The captain, lieutenant, and their escort moved back, firing at any savages coming towards them, as they retreated back towards the line of friendlies. As if, almost on cue, once they were clear, the artillery shells hit the great mechanical horrors, destroying them. The artillery fire was focused on the exits the machines had created, so they were keeping most of the savages back, but suddenly the fire stopped. Lieutenant Dahl, what's happening? Why has the artillery stopped? Asked Captain Ruiz. Sir, began the lieutenant, sounding worried. The savages, they came up behind us while you were all distracted. They're attacking the camp, and no one can find Major Wright.